Good morning to you all. It is a Friday morning, day of January, make that 2025, 19. Wow. That's making a big guffaw there. 2025. And this is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. And no, your ears are not deceiving you. This is Bob Look. I'm sitting in for Chad Holmes. We're giving that guy a rest with the voice. You may have heard him last couple of days, well, several days, in fact. And basically, it's just turn it off. Turn off the vocal cords for a while. And so I'm just here today to pinch hit. And Chad is in the building, but we're telling him not to really talk. And we're even doing sign language to try to make his life a little easier. So I'm sitting in here for the program today, but expect everything that you expect to hear on a Friday show. Your opinions and comments are always welcome here in the program at 715-382-9297. That's the phone, direct phone line for this program here on Civic Media. And, of course, if you don't want to talk and you want to send a text, that is also available through that number, 715-382-9297. And, of course, without the able-bodied assistant, Ian Welsh, we probably never get this thing off the ground. Good morning, Ian.
Good morning, Bob. It's great to have you here.
Well, I'm happy that you guys, I'm helping out, and I'm just trying to get you through to this Friday. I could use a baseball vocabulary here. Well, the call went to the bullpen for the veteran right-hander, and that's me, to help out. And I'm just going to do our darndest to have a good show here this morning.
We appreciate it.
Yeah, coming up later, we're going to be checking in with Brittney Merlot with the weekend weather forecast. Going to be interesting. Going to be a kind of a potpourri of what happens weather-wise in Wisconsin coming up in the next couple of days. We'll have her report coming up later on this hour, about 8:18. And coming up on the back side of the hour at about 8:34, 8:35, Mike Clemens, the sports director for Civic Media. He's going to be a busy fella as he's going to be hitting the road, heading towards New Orleans for the Super Bowl, which will be on next week's Sunday, not this Sunday, but the next week's Sunday. They got that 2-week kind of buffer between the end of conference championships and the Super Bowl this year. So we'll be talking about that and other sports of interest and anything else. In fact, coming up in the second hour today, we'll also check in with Paul Micklig, of course, with local sports happenings on the high school level and anything to do with that. And you're always welcome to be a part of the discussion. So we welcome you to the program this morning. It's kind of we got a little bit back to the winter kind of feel to the weather as we had a warm day yesterday. Did you get out and enjoy any of it yesterday, Ian?
I did get to go outside a little bit, and it was very nice out there.
Oh,
I mean, the sun was out. There was hardly any wind. It was like a very seasonal.
You had to keep running back to the calendar saying, is this January? Really? In Wisconsin? Really?
I think we're going to find out for certain because in a few days, it's going to be Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So we'll see if Puxatawny Phil has is confirming our hope that's an
Yeah.
early spring, or hopefully, because I don't really want to deal with another 6 weeks of winter. I
Well,
mean, for
it
the skiers and the snowmobilers, if they want to take advantage of that, I'm not going to stop them.
oh yeah.
Personally, I prefer an early spring.
Well, it whatever Mother Nature decides to give us. And I'll also be pointing out something that's very important in my heart about this coming Sunday, too, February 2nd. That'll be at the tail end of the program today. I did want to talk a little bit about something that I brought up on this show when I was guesting with Chad. Um, this involves the election process in November.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe I made this comment just after the election results had occurred. And I coined a phrase that I wrote down after election night, and just the what happened with the votes from the national election and picking of the president for the next 4 years. And I called it the age of ignorance.
Mm,
And
it's very accurate.
well, it's kind of harsh when I said that, because there's normally the quote unquote honeymoon period when a change of power happens, right?
Right.
But wasn't a change of power from a non-entity. This was something that we went through before. This is one, a leadership or so-called leadership that we had to deal with, back from 2017 to the start of 2021. And so there should have been no surprises. There should have been no people with their, holding the sides of their faces and mouth wide open going, "Oh, I can't believe this." You should have been used to it. But it is amazing that it's this time around in this lineup of a Trump presidency. They're not waiting around to try to ask questions whether they can do this or not, or whether this is legal or not, or whether this is disastrous or not. They're just doing things, and they're just doing
Yeah.
things to throw so much out there that it's almost like it's almost like the poor firefighters and the people out in Los Angeles with those forest fire or brush fires and that.
It's terrible.
Is that you're just overwhelmed with all the things you're trying to put out fires. And that's what the that's kind of like the impression I get nowadays, that there's so many people trying to catch up with it. But I will say this, in the important things and some of the important matters, people are standing up and people are pointing things out. When they talked about rescinding funding
Uh-huh.
for government situations, they thought people would go, "Oh, well, we'll let that go for a while." Well, do you let go of a Meals on Wheels program for the elderly?
No, absolutely not.
Or all these other things that government does for us day in, day out, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week,
Yeah.
because that's what the government is there to do, is to help out those who need that assistance. None of this is pulling up on your bootstraps malarkey that they like to say. Well, you're only going to be successful if you just, get out there and just, make your own way. BS.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, and I do mean everyone, needs a little help now and then. And there's some people who are quite doing well, very, very well, in fact, have had incredible help to get them on their path of so-called success.
Right.
So I'm just bringing back that, that theme of age of ignorance. And when I listen to people, when they will debate or argue or say, well, that's what we voted for. We wanted him to shake things up. Well, shaking things up is a lot different than destroying the efficiency of what federal government can do for you.
I agree. Absolutely.
That's not shaking it up. That's throwing a bomb or a hand grenade in the middle of the operation and see you later.
It's the equivalent of throwing a grenade into a fireworks factory.
Yeah, it's repulsive, and the cream or the cherry on top of the sundae yesterday
Mm-hmm.
was listening to the current president throwing blame on that air disaster in Washington, D.C.
Oh, no. I
and
heard
pointing
about
fingers at minorities, women, DEI, basically saying that people were, and then pointing the fingers at former presidents, Joe Biden, who's been out of office since January 20th,
this. Uh-huh.
and Barack Obama, which his tenure ended back in January 2017.
He's blaming people who have nothing to do with this. I mean,
Well,
it's like anytime something goes wrong, he always blames somebody else. But anytime something goes right, he takes full responsibility for it because, like, oh, this is a good thing. It makes me look good. It's a bad thing. Let's blame it on somebody else because it's not my fault.
it's like if you
That's
have
completely
you got your final exams in college or in high school,
Yeah.
and you come up with and you fail, and you say, well, I would have passed if the light in my bedroom wouldn't have burned out, and I couldn't get it changed, and I couldn't read up and study for the course. It's like the dog ate my homework. You know,
Yeah,
it's like pushing blame at something that is not the reason why you had a problem. So it's the age of ignorance. And if you buy those kind of excuses, well, you're just, as I say there, the age of ignorance is taking hold of a lot of people currently in this country.
Something has to change.
Well, anyway, we started off in kind of a somber note this morning, sitting in for Chad. But listen, we've got Brittney Merlot coming in with some weather information for you and a whole lot more. Stay with us. This is the Chad Holmes Show. I'm Bob Look, sitting in for him. 715-382-9297 is the number. Give us a call or text, and we'll be back shortly.
I said, what a day, a year, a life is
Good morning, Brittney.
Good morning. How are you?
Doing pretty good. Yesterday was absolutely beautiful.
It was.
Sun was out, hardly any wind. It's like an early taste of spring.
I know. It felt like we brought Florida back with us, right? Florida felt colder, actually.
I took some of the cold from Wisconsin and brought it down to Florida.
You did.
I guess that's what happens when people from Wisconsin try to take vacations somewhere down south.
Seriously, it follows you. Ah. One of my friends was trying to blame that on me, and they were like, I'm surprised they let you off the plane. Snow Queen. I was like, oh.
Well, that's not very nice to say.
I know.
You can't control the weather.
No.
You just report it.
I know. I wish I could. More snow. That would be my superpower.
Yeah, I'll have to see if a Groundhog Day predicts an early spring or more winter.
More winter.
You never know.
Step right up and don't be shy. Because you will not believe your eyes. She's right here behind the glass. You're gonna like her.
We continue now on the Chad Holmes Show here on WXCO 98.9 FM here on this Friday morning, and time for us to get a little update on what to expect weather-wise here for the immediate future and also through the weekend. And we do that with our meteorologist, Brittney Merlot. It's nice to see you again.
You too. How are you doing?
Doing okay. Oh, by the way, Chad wanted to give you a little message.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Okay.
He said to me,
Oh, got it. Yeah. I'll take care
okay,
of
so
that.
now you got it. He told me that's exactly how she wanted to hear it. So
That's
no,
awesome. Poor thing.
when you do this for a living, when your voice is your
Your moneymaker.
the moneymaker, yeah, it's the income bringer, the revenue stream, and I've through my 50 years of doing this wacky stuff, I've had more than several occasions of basically just not even be able to function, but you try to work around it. So we told him shut it down, and we'll call it back later. But anyway, yesterday, I've just got to tell you, yesterday was a harbinger of things to come. I know that, but not right away, is it?
No. I mean, well, we're kind of going to get pretty warm on Sunday again, which is crazy, but my gosh, that was it's hard to even talk about it. We didn't just break records, we blew them out of the water.
Smashed them.
Usually, yeah, like we're usually breaking them by a couple of degrees, right? That's how
Right.
it usually goes. I have never seen them just shattered by 10 to 15 degrees or so or more. I mean, yesterday we hit 47 degrees. We broke a 1999 record of 43. So while we didn't have the biggest margin here, it's because we had some snow on the ground. So our
Right.
temperatures stayed a little bit cooler than the rest of the state, but my gosh, it rose to 61 degrees in Boscobel, far southwest Wisconsin.
Oh
We
my
were sitting
God.
in the upper 50s. Yeah.
I used to work in the southwestern part of the state back in the early 2000s, and Boscobel and Iowa Grant and Mineral Point, Dodgeville area. Yeah, there's a lot hilly area and that stuff out there. I can vouch for that sometimes it would spike up heat wise a little bit more there.
Well, who knew that was our Florida island? Now I know.
In fact, I was teasing Ian about that. He had his trip down to Florida, and he says, "Oh, it rained, and it was almost the whole time." And I says,
I think it's because I brought some of the cold weather from Wisconsin and brought it down to Florida.
"Yeah."
That's
And I
probably
said,
why the
Followed
weather
him.
was.
they have it on their license plates, the Sunshine State, and you go there and it's cloudy all the time. What's up with that?
Refund.
I mean, on our license plate that says America's Dairyland. Okay, argue about that? Huh? No way. You can't argue that.
That's true. That's true.
Well,
Oh
well,
gosh.
I'm done bashing Florida now. Let's.
Well, when I came back from Florida, I brought this heat with me. So while Ian gave
Got
them the dose of cold, I stole it right back and brought it just for a day. Maybe
Yeah,
someday too.
teach them. Well, we teach
Exactly.
them. But anyway,
Much cooler.
we got a little bit of a roller coaster coming up, don't we?
We do. So a little bit cooler today. I mean, obviously waking up this morning with frost all over the cars, crisp cold temperatures compared to yesterday afternoon. Today's highs will reach the mid 30s. Obviously, we're going to stay on the sunny side of things, not much going on, a little breezy on occasion, winds gusting up to about 25 miles per hour, and they're crisp because they're out of the northeast. But we've got a system moving in tomorrow. So we'll see those clouds increasing overnight tonight, probably cloudy when you wake up in the morning, and snow pushing in by the evening. So it's actually going to be a dry day, but colder. Highs only in the upper 20s. And then, of course, that snow moving in at night. That is going to put down about 1 to 3 inches or so. And it'll kick on out of here Sunday. But as it leaves, it's going to be bringing in warmth. So we're going to climb to 40 degrees on Sunday, which,
With the
again,
snow.
right after the snow, with the snow. So it's going to be melting right away. And as the system
Mhm.
exits, it's going to bring a chance of a little bit of a wintry mix and maybe drizzle on Sunday afternoon because obviously the highs are above freezing. So it's going to be a little dose of snow, little mess, melted.
See, I'm from the old school, and I hope you bear with me on this.
Sure.
I really don't like to see these warm temperatures and spring-like kind of temperatures in January and early February because Mother Nature has a way of slapping back.
Oh,
And then all of a
yes.
sudden you're sitting here in a May, afternoon, and suddenly there's 8 inches on the ground of fresh snow, and you go,
My gosh.
"Why? Why us? Why?"
Ah. And the meteorologists are like, "Mwahaha." Just kidding.
You're just shy of that black handlebar mustache right now, there, Brittany.
Yes. Oh, gosh.
Toy
Oh,
with
too
us,
funny.
are you? Huh?
I think
Uh,
February, though, is going to be a little bit of that. Just a little heads up. I see a couple of
oh,
systems rolling through, the jet stream shifting and kind of
Mhm.
bringing in those messy storms where down south gets the ice accumulations and we'll get hit with the snow. So more of a normal winter pattern coming up for February, it looks like.
so the
Okay.
basic forecast is
Snow. Oh, snow. No,
that's
no,
what
no.
I like. Pin them down. Snow. Yeah, very good. Very good.
It gonna
Well,
rain. I'm just kidding.
Brittany, we appreciate your time and have a great weekend. And of course, you're going to be waiting early Sunday morning for what
Oh,
you
yeah,
know
this is
the
double
groundhogs.
coverage. I actually get to take the day off while the groundhog takes over for us. It's
Oh
the
yeah.
National Meteorologists Take the Day Off Day.
If I can find some animal to take over for my announcing duties, we got a story here. So,
I think we
no,
can find you one. Yep.
all right, Brittany, take care. We'll talk to you again. Okay.
Have a
Bye.
good weekend.
All right. And again, currently it's not a bad day out there, folks. I wouldn't complain. Ian's not going to complain. I'm not going to complain.
No, definitely. I'm still wearing t-shirts. I mean, I don't wear the long sleeve shirts anymore unless it's like super cold.
Yeah. So we're doing all right. We're doing all right. And temperature wise, a little below the freezing mark in the upper 20s throughout our area. And we'll just get through the day as best we can into the weekend. Coming up, we've got some more information and that coming your way here at the bottom of the hour. And Mike Clemens, sports director for Civic Media, will be visiting with us. He's got a busy, busy time ahead of him with Super Bowl coming up next week, Sunday, and more. All that coming up as we continue on the Chad Holmes Show on WXCO 98.9 FM.
Each tear that falls from my eyes, I'm not hiding the remedy to cure this.
We continue on with the Chad Holmes Show for this Friday morning. I'm Bob Look, sitting in for Chad, resting that the vocal cords after all the games and hosting that he's been doing. So we hopefully will be getting him back for the weekend and also before the start of next week. But at this time, we have an opportunity to chat a little bit with what's happening in the sports world. And of course, this is kind of a treat for me because this is a gentleman that I have followed his work on various coverage and various other areas. And I also watch his stuff on Twitter and that. So it's kind of a treat for me to have a chance to chat with Mike Clemens, sports director for Civic Media. Good morning there, Mike.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Doing great. And again, it is a real honor and a privilege to chat with you because I've enjoyed your work for many years. And so it's going to be fun. Let's catch up what's happening coming up here for you. You're going to be a busy guy because you're going to be hitting the road tomorrow, right?
Yeah, I head down to New Orleans and I'll be covering Super Bowl all next week. And so that's where my reports will be for Chad and his show and the rest of the guys. And so, yeah, going to cover this Eagles team that beat the Commanders. And, I was just thinking about this earlier in the week. Last year, it was the Packers that were sort of the Cinderella team in the postseason, right? And
yeah.
This year was the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels. And, the Commanders win the toss. They marched down the field. It was like an 18-play drive.
Mm-hmm.
But then that, Eagles defense stopped them short, and they kicked like a 34-yard field goal, and Washington goes up 3-0. Eagles get the ball. They get 1st and 10 on their own 40, and on the first play of the game, what do? Saquon Barkley goes 60 yards on a toss-crack play. And I learned, they didn't talk about this during the game. Of course, I don't think we knew. But I heard an interview with Saquon Barkley later in the week when they got back to Philadelphia. It was a trick play. They had Jalen Hurts calling out some signals that was a play that they had done before a couple of times against the last few times they'd faced the Commanders. So they took that phrase, put it in with that play, but ran a completely different play to the opposite side. And so there goes Saquon off left tackle and gets through some arms, and boom, he's gone for 60 yards. They scored 7 rushing TDs last week against the Commanders. 3 for Saquon Barkley. Jalen Hurts, ran it in 3 times. Their backup running back had it. I mean, that is a running football team. And when you watch him, and you think of Saquon, and you think of Jalen Hurts at quarterback, kind of a running quarterback. That guy too, man, he's playing through. He broke a finger on his left hand in December. He dislocated the middle finger on his throwing hand. He had the concussion that took him out a couple of weeks before he got into the Packers game. Oh, and then he's wearing a knee brace. I think it was after the Rams game.
Yeah.
All banged up. So, he could use this weekend to heal up to take on those Chiefs. But it's just the Eagles, when you think of them, it's, A.J. Brown, a wide receiver, big offensive line. Kellen Moore, from the Cowboys, their offensive coordinator, and Vic Fangio. I mean, he took them from 30th ranked defense to number 1. Jalen Carter, the huge defensive lineman who just makes such a difference. Zach Bond from the Wisconsin Badgers.
Yep. Now
having a great year. Orrin Burks, former Packer, the other linebacker back there. And it's like, oh yeah, by the way, the head coach is Nick Sirianni. I mean, suddenly they're just so loaded, and suddenly they're in their 3rd Super Bowl since 2017. Howie Roseman, the GM, keeps on putting together these. That's something that Packer fans need to take a step back in terms of how good he does, building his team versus what the Eagles are doing with their 3rd trip to a Super Bowl.
Well, that was one thing that prior to that Packer-Eagle playoff game, Packer fans are feeling pretty good that they had a real good shot at knocking off the Eagles, forgetting how much talent there is out there.
Yeah, and just, the identity that the Eagles have, how physical they are as well, and then just things that they were able to scheme up, to kind of shut down Jordan Love and the Packers, shooting themselves in the foot. Eagles got some breaks too with the opening kickoff and things like that. But Brian's got his Brian is at the Senior Bowl this week, and I got one of my spies down there said first thing he was looking at, wide receivers.
I kind of bet, yeah.
Oh,
Well, of course, the other side of the coin, you got the Kansas City Chiefs back at it again, trying for a three-peat, and they knocked off the Buffalo Bills. It just seemed to be knocking on the door, but never getting past that door.
Can't close the deal. Yeah.
Mm.
No, Bob. And the Chiefs beating them 32-29, and then listeners will ask me, "Well, who are you pulling for?" And I go, "Well, I'm not a Packers fan. I work for Packers fans. There's a little
Right.
bit of a difference there." And I said, and so if I'm thinking of Packers fans, it's like you don't want the Chiefs to win again. Lombardi won 3 in a row there at the end, but 2 of them were NFL championships, and then they invented the Super Bowl. So he won the first 2 Super Bowls. But Andy Reid now has got a chance to win 3 Super Bowls in a row. That's never been done. We're up to 59 this weekend in New Orleans. And I don't understand why the Bills didn't go to James Cook earlier in the game. They waited till seemingly after halftime. I don't understand Josh Allen and the tush push. Now they actually won 4 out of 6 fourth downs that way. Maybe they need to figure out a better way to be more productive on second and third down. But it's one thing when Jalen Hurts does that. And it's one thing when the Eagles and their offensive line, they get way down and do that. The Bills line doesn't. The Bills line, I don't know about their pad level on that. And then the last play of the game where the Bills were marching down the field, but then they had another fourth down, and he throws to Dalton Kincaid, his number 3 tight end, who drops the ball. It would have been a spectacular catch. I saw a replay of the play, Bob, and Josh Allen, he was just throwing it up there. He was on one leg.
Sure.
He was getting sacked, and the ball came out of his. He knew the situation. Fourth down, probably last play of the game. Just chuck it down there, see what happens. And if Kincaid had caught that ball, it would have been one of the greatest plays in AFC Championship history for sure.
Probably better than the one with
Tyreek,
yeah,
catch with the Giants, and that's the kind of play it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
That's the kind of it could have been if it gotten them the first down, because then they would have been in field goal territory. Could have sent the game into overtime in Arrowhead.
You still got a little over a week before they teed up and go get them on the 9th of February. Now, you got some Packers news from this past week, don't you?
Yeah, I was thinking about this before I was getting ready for your show today. I thought, gosh, there are those games tonight. It's like, well, there's all kinds of interesting little stories, like Rich Bisaccia, the Packers special teams coordinator, getting a 2-year extension from Matt LaFleur. And some people are like, hey, I don't think special teams was that great this year. He hasn't really moved them up in the rankings. And I'm telling you, Bisaccia is worth it. And, you talk to players. Dontavian Wicks told me, this is the smartest coach I've ever been around. He knows everything top to bottom, and not just special teams, but on defense, what's going on in offense. As a matter of fact, LaFleur made him assistant head coach a couple of years ago. That helped him get him a pay raise.
Oh.
But LaFleur now, I asked Bisaccia about this, and he confirmed it. When LaFleur, when the offense comes off the field now, I see this with the binoculars at the games.
Sure.
He goes over to the bench and he's talking to Jordan Love, and the defense is out there, and it's first down and it's second down. Bisaccia's on the sideline running the game. Okay, maybe there's a penalty call or something like that. Jeff Hafley, your defense coordinator, he's upstairs, on the headset talking to the linebacker, into his radio helmet. So Bisaccia is actually running the game, and they're all on headsets. But that's the way LaFleur can gather information from the receivers, assistant coaches, as he puts together the next script of plays as the play caller before he gets back over there and takes over the line. But that's how valuable Bisaccia is to him.
It's a lot better to have quality assistants than ones that are maybe learning on the job. So,
well, yeah, and of course, Rich was an interim head coach there for the Raiders, and they actually had a winning record. Then some news last night. That they didn't renew Jason Rebovich as defensive line coach.
Right.
And he was a Joe Barry hire, and it was after 3 years. And I would like to find out next time I can grab some Packers people. I wonder if it was a case where, okay, this guy's contract was up. We don't have to renew it. The defensive coordinator has got his eye on somebody he'd like to replace him with. And it was just kind of one of those deals. But whatever, they've got his replacement. It's DeMarcus Covington, 35-year-old guy who was the defense coordinator of the Patriots last year. Now you say, well, the Patriots weren't very good. Gerard Mayer got fired after 1 year. This guy, this Covington guy, has been with the Patriots. He's a Belichick guy. He came up as an assistant, and he was so impressive to them. After about 2 years, they gave him defensive line. And the last time the Patriots won a Super Bowl, which was 5 years ago against the Rams, he was their defensive line coach. So he was there for that Belichick era. And then, they don't have a quarterback now. They've got a lot of needs on the roster. They're rebuilding, retooling, and he was just sort of a victim of that last year. So that's the guy that you just hired as your new defensive line coach. He's 35 years old and got a lot of experience. But 11 o'clock last night, ESPN, Adam Schefter, Anthony Campanelli, who's been their linebacker coach for the last year. He came up from the Dolphins, 42 years old, and LaFleur raved about that guy. I mean, if you thought that Edgerrin Cooper, the rookie linebacker, had a good season for the Packers, you credit this guy. He was also named run defense coordinator. He just got a job as a defensive coordinator for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So now they got to fill that spot.
So the web that they weave.
Yeah.
From place to place. Well, we got some football. Let's talk a little baseball. Seeing as how yesterday was a weird day with warm weather, you kind of get excited about baseball. But, the Brewers have been somewhat quiet during this off season, but they did lose one of the guys that I personally like myself, because he seemed to be almost more than just a player. He was more of a coach, especially last year, being he was on the injured list. That's Wade Miley.
You and Pat Murphy, Bob. Wade Miley, and he used that time. There was a night, and I was covering that game, where Wade Miley was in pain, and they actually were just going to try and use him for an inning or two, but then suddenly they had some problems in the bullpen, and he gave him 4 innings. And Murphy was so, he said, "Look at this guy. This is what it takes." Well, later, he was playing through, this elbow tightness. He went in for Tommy John surgery.
Yeah.
So Wade Miley's 38 years old. And this was his second stint with the Brewers.
Right.
And, he came back from surgery and was there helping those guys out in the bullpen, like you say. He signed a deal worth $2.5 million. He'll start out in the minor leagues. He should be back from the surgery in May. Reds think that that's a guy that could help them in the second half of the season.
And that, again, his experience factor is important, especially if you have a younger crew out of the bullpen.
I wouldn't be surprised if, another year or two, Wade Miley's now a pitching coach somewhere in the major leagues.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about Badger sports. The men's basketball team, tough loss against Maryland. This is the Badger basketball team, to me, is one of these. Sometimes you just don't know what you're going to get from one night to another. Some nights they look like world beaters, like, whoa, these guys are good. And other times, whew.
Yeah, and during sort of their preseason, if you will, they lost a couple, so they weren't even in the rankings. But then they've gradually crept into the top 25. Where this week, after winning 7 in a row, they got up to number 17th ranked. Then they go and play unranked Maryland, who has a really physical game. And, the Badgers were just out of it. It's a Big Ten game. It's on the road, but they lost 76-68. And, Greg Gardner got a little touchy. One reporter said, this is sort of the time of the year where you start having these slumps, Greg, like every year. He goes, "I'm not talking about other years. I'm only here to talk about this year. You knew about that." So tomorrow he's going to play the Wildcats in Evanston against the Northwestern. I think that's a 1 o'clock tip.
All right. Hey, Mike Clemens, a pleasure talking to you, and I hope we can do this again sometime. And safe travels down to New Orleans in the Super Bowl, my friend.
I appreciate that, Bob. Have a good weekend.
You too. That's Mike Clemens, sports director for Civic Media, cluing you in on what's happening in sports in and around the state of Wisconsin for this coming weekend. We thank him for his time. We got about 11 minutes away from 9 o'clock here on WXCO 98.9 FM.
Well, I have seen you shine, but boy, is this fly. And you suffer much too much from dead mice. There you sit
Chad Holmes show for this Friday morning. I'm Bob Look, sitting in for Chad, who's resting up the vocal cords as he's got one of those things that announcers or people who use their voice for a living, you can't get out of it quick enough. You just want your voice back. And I feel for him because I've been down that road several times in my life, in my career, and it's no fun. So we're hoping that the rest of the voice for today and that will reap some benefits for him. So we do appreciate him allowing us to come in and pinch hit for him here on this Friday. 715-382-9297 is the phone number if you want to get a hold of us here on the program. Got a little time here before we get to the top of the hour, and you're more than happy to text maybe you got a question, comment, opinion. You're more than welcome to do that. And of course, I'm here with Ian Welch, who's our producer, the in-studio producer for the program. By the way, we do have high school sports coming up tonight and also tomorrow here on WXCO, as we got high school boys basketball, as Wausau West will travel to Wisconsin Rapids to take on the Red Raiders tonight. That'll be, I believe, 6:45 or so is pregame time, somewhere in that area. 7 o'clock for a game over at the Wisconsin Rapids Lincoln High School gymnasium there. Nice facility there. Nice place to I broadcasted many a game there at Wisconsin Rapids, and it's a nice setup that they have there, and the people are always very friendly. And coming up on Saturday afternoon, we'll have Wausau West boys hockey, as they'll be in New Richmond for a pretty big game. And that'll be Saturday afternoon. 2:50 will be broadcast time for the game. New Richmond is ranked pretty high in the state of Wisconsin, so it's going to be a big test for Coach B.J. Brandt and the West Warriors. So that'll be coming up Saturday afternoon also. So got those games slated for this weekend. and as we're talking here just a little while ago, there's a lot more other things in sports that are going on. Just because the NFL are done until the Super Bowl next Sunday, the February 9th, there's still plenty of things out there with basketball and hockey, of course, which is my forte. And this is something that kind of really irks me, to the fact that this coming weekend, probably the biggest and best college hockey rivalry going. Well, we're from this area, so I think we're a little shaded with our opinion on this. But the Wisconsin Badgers are playing the Minnesota Golden Gophers in Minnesota, and those games will be tonight and tomorrow. And for the first time that I can remember, that there's no live television coverage of the games coming up this evening and also on Saturday, unless you're going to Big Ten Plus and stream it. Something where you have to pay a little extra to, it's a border battle. The tradition has been forever and ever that this is like the big connection. These are the games, but they're not on easily accessible TV. Whether you be on DirecTV or the cable systems or that stuff, and to me, it kind of hurts me, right? In my own psyche, because I think it's important, and there's a lot of even casual fans will sit down and watch a game because it is Minnesota versus Wisconsin.
Absolutely.
It's with great regret that I just always ask this question. Well, why did the Big Ten ever get a TV thing when they're going to splinter it out the stream? You know why? More revenue.
Right.
Money. Which brings me to another thing in the media. The Allen Media Group. Wasn't that long ago when they cut back on the news personnel and employees at various Allen Media Company stations here in Wausau, WAOW TV, part of that.
They got rid of half of their a staff, both on air and behind the scenes.
Yeah, half of the staff, and then they come back with the second whammy where they're going to get rid of all of the meteorologists locally and just go
Really?
with the ones that are out of mass. Well, that was announced that way,
Oh my gosh.
but then the public stepped forward. I have said this before on the air. I have written about this on Facebook and other platforms. As long as there's TV and radio stations that broadcast on the public airwaves,
Mm-hmm.
you listening to me right now, you, the public, have the power to put the pressure on these companies that, hey, we don't stand for this. If you own this TV or radio station in the surrounding Wausau area, Marathon County, what have you, you're supposed to serve that area. And the public stepped up and they put enough pressure on Ellen Media that they backed off. Said, "Oh, okay, well, we won't harm the guys that on our guys or gals or on the weather stuff. We'll get them back in there." So, folks, if you think that your voice doesn't count, I'm here to tell you, it does.
Your voice matters.
That's why we have this number, 715-382-9297. You can call us during our live portions here of the program from 8 until 10 a.m. and also text information to us in questions. We'll be back with hour number 2 of the Chad Holmes Show coming up. You're listening to WXCO 98.9 FM and 1230 a.m.
All I need is a TV show, that and the radio. Down on my luck again, down on my luck again. I can show you some of the people in my life. I can show you some of the people in my life. It's driving me mad.
Good morning to you. Little past the hour of 9 o'clock on this Friday morning. I'm Bob Look, sitting in for Chad Holmes on this show. It's the Chad Holmes Show here on WXCO 98.9 FM, as we're glad to have you with us, tuned in on this end of the week Friday. Now, where's Chad? Well, if you've listened on a regular basis, and I'm sure you do, you knew that he's having some throat problems and just wore it out. You know, he's busy man. Take a little time off to just let the vocal cords rest a little bit. Should be good to go here this weekend, also by next week, Monday for sure. So we just pinch hitting, giving him a day of rest. Well, basically give him a day of voice rest, which is the important thing right now. And we'd love to have your voices heard here on the program at 715-382-9297. At 715-382-9297. Now, it's either if you would like to phone in with a comment, or if you'd like to send us a text with something you'd like to chat about or bring up, you're more than welcome to. Coming up later on in this hour of the program, we'll be talking to Paul Micklig, who been involved with local area sports for many years. I used to do the Wausau Newman football games, and he was out there coaching, and so it's been a while since I've even had a chance to chat with Paul, but I'm looking forward to his visit later on this hour. And we'll be talking about anything, whether it's local, statewide, national, sports-wise. If that's something that you really want to get focused on, you use that phone number that I passed on to you. And by the way, that phone number is exclusively good for WXCO and the from 8 a.m. until 10 a.m. Monday through Friday show, because we're all part of Civic Media. Of course, Civic Media, some of the network folks, of course, they've got different phone numbers, but during this time, and you can use those phone numbers that I give you here at 715-382-9297. You can use them anytime, 24 hours a day, if you want to text with some information, something that comes up, in your head. Hey, here's something. What? I got a question about this. I got something I don't understand. Text it, and it'll be there for us, and we will recognize it, and also try to find you an answer if you do throw in a question, or if you want to discuss the issue of some kind. You're more than welcome to use that way to communicate with us. So we're a full service radio. We're just like those old gas stations in the past. I don't know if you're even old enough, Ian. Ian Welsh, by the way, our in studio producer for the program.
Morning, Bob.
I don't think you're old enough to even know when you go to a full service gas station, when you pull up, somebody comes out there, they'll put the gas in your car, they'll clean your windshield, they'll check your oil.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
Good times.
Yeah. Good times.
I wish I could have been there.
feel like doing the Andy Griffith show all over again. We'll have Gomer Pyle running the filling station there, and doing repair work on all the various trucks and vehicles out there in Mayberry.
Well, he was one of my favorite characters on that show.
Gomer Pyle, Jim Neighbors, who played that played that particular deal. And then they even spun off the Andy Griffith Show with him being Gomer Pyle. They spun off to Gomer Pyle having his own show, which is Gomer Pyle USMC, where
Yeah.
Gomer Pyle enlists in the Marines.
I think I've seen a couple episodes of that actually.
Yeah, golly, and but Jim Neighbors, the one thing that I really tie into with him was for years upon years was the man who sang Back Home Again in Indiana prior to the start of the Indianapolis 500.
Mm.
It was like a Memorial Day tradition that it'd be Jim Neighbors coming out there to sing Back Home Again in Indiana. And I'm not from Indiana, okay? And I don't think, there's a lot of folks who aren't from Indiana, but they always looked forward to when, before they'd start the Indianapolis 500, Tom Carnegie, who was the public address announcer for the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for decades. Now let's welcome back our good friend Jim Neighbors for that song we've all been waiting for, Back Home Again in Indiana. And old Jim would be, Back Home Again in Indiana. And even if you're not from Indiana, you're still getting a tear in your eye. I could never figure that out. I have no connections to Indiana other than attending Indianapolis 500 a couple of times back in the mid 80s. But it's just something that it was Americana, I guess would be a good way to describe it. An American thing to be involved with, especially Indianapolis 500, which of course will have that race again coming up in the Memorial Day weekend again this year. And that's going to be another one of those things that you keep your attention on. And even if you're not a race fan, and people who watch Indianapolis 500, the vast majority of them, they couldn't tell you two drivers that are in that race.
That's probably true.
But years ago, boy, everybody knew them, but times have changed. There's a lot more choices for people's attention.
Yeah.
But it's nice to have, and one of the big things that comes up is the first Saturday in May, which is the Kentucky Derby, which is, one of the great horse races. A lot of people suddenly pay attention to horse racing because it's the first rung of the Triple Crown.
Yeah, my mom always likes to watch those races. Anytime it comes on, she lets me know and we watch it together. And I think that's really interesting to me is over the years, all these horses have very interesting names.
Oh, yeah.
Not bad names, but just interesting.
Well, a lot of times it's based on the owners of the horse.
Yeah.
They might have a relative or a family member whose name they want to include into that, or what were the circumstances for them suddenly owning that horse. There's always a story behind some of these situations.
Indeed.
And I like horse racing myself. Okay. And in fact, I do have the capabilities on my smartphone where I can place a wager on horse races, not just here in the United States, but around the world. Did you know that?
No, I did not.
Yeah. On my phone, I can go on here. I could right now, here at 9, coming up on 9:15 in the morning here, I've got the racetracks listed, in the States, but then after that, we go to Argentina,
Ooh.
Australia,
Wow.
Bahrain. Let's see what else here. Oh, France. We got France in here too. Ireland, Italy, United Kingdom, England, and that. Worldwide. On a weekend, I can even bet on races in Japan.
Incredible.
So whenever you start saying that technology hasn't really made this world shorter or smaller or less less dominating,
Mm,
right in my own hand,
yeah.
I can put in a wager on a horse race in Australia.
Boy, the technology has really come a long way, hasn't it?
Sure. It wasn't just putting man on the moon, right? We wanted to be able to bet on horse races around the world. I know it's silly, isn't it?
Nowadays, you bet on football teams all over the world because the DraftKings and the
Oh, yeah.
all those apps where people can bet on players or the teams themselves. And
Well, take, the major sports teams, the major sports leagues, okay,
Mhm.
from the NFL to the NBA to Major League Baseball, National Hockey League, and on you can go. This is another stream of revenue for
Yeah.
those operations, whether you like it or not. And of course, Major League Baseball, they were the ones that would scurry at the fact that they did not want to be involved in gambling. In fact, gambling was so wrong-o and was the worst thing you could do, having a player or a coach on a baseball team bet on the sport.
Yeah.
Pete Rose is not in the Hall of Fame because of that, and other things that have, happened, for other players down the road.
Mm-hmm.
But now you've got the ability to go on these, like you said before, DraftKings and the other ones. You can get it so refined that you are taking a bet whether the next pitch that pitcher throws is either a strike or a ball.
Yeah,
Isn't that wild?
it's crazy. Just all these factors just go into people making
Yeah.
money. It's like, is he going to get a first
Well,
down? Is he going to get a touchdown? Is it going to be a home run? Is it going to be an out? It just all these little things are just
Is that wild or not?
it's crazy. Is what it is.
Well,
Crazy wild.
Well, I'll bet you, Ian, that coming up in our next segment, we're going to talk to a good old friend, Paul Micklig. How does that grab you? Think you want to take my bet?
I'll take a piece of that action. Sure. It's Friday. Why not?
Yeah. Paul's coming up next, and you're listening to the Chad Holmes Show right here on 98.9 FM WXCO.
Yeah, we come with heroes just for one day. What you say, I said.
We continue with the Chad Holmes Show here on WXCO 98.9 FM. And an old friend stopping by here for a visit. Well, he always does get together with Chad here on Fridays. And it's been a while since the last time that Paul Mickley and myself had a chance to chat with you. How you doing, Paul?
Good. It's good to see you. And then, we've but long years. It's been, from games to this and that.
I'm trying to think that because when I came back to the Wausau area, I think it was like maybe 2007 or that or something to get back with Wausau Newman Sports.
Yep.
Because you were doing the football deal, right?
Yep. So that was it feels like almost 20 years. I guess that would be almost 20 years.
On the edge.
Yeah. That's a long time ago.
And we look so much younger back
then. Now or before? Yeah. I just was walking in because this is the busiest highway in the state today for you guys
putting a skyscraper.
Yeah,
across the street.
Yeah, this is going to be the best view in Wausau right here. You can see, but one of the guys was working out there and happened to know him, and I go, "You're looking good." He goes, "So are you." I go, "Quit lying to me, because I know I don't." And I haven't probably seen him for 10 to 15 years. So
sure,
So I know, we change, unfortunately, and but we're all good. That doesn't change sports. They continue and all those things. And you still doing that? You're still with the announcing the. Are you still down announcing those hockey games, right?
Yeah, Wisconsin Badger Hot Men's. Yes, I'm still doing the public address announcing.
How many years has that been?
This is my 27th season.
I was just saying, I knew it was long. That's fun.
Yeah. Well, like I keep when people ask me about it, I says I was a one-game sub for the first game in the Kohl Center in 1998. They had somebody hired to be the PA announcer, but he couldn't work that particular night. And I just came back into the state in April of 98, back from South Dakota. And my brother worked at the University of Wisconsin, and he happened to be in the new Kohl Center. And they were like trying out some students to like do PA announcing. My brother just called me and said, "Hey, I don't know if this means anything to you, but there seems to have some college kids, and they sound terrible." I said, "Well, So I just made a cold call to the university, got a name of somebody there, and left a message. I says, if you're looking for somebody who's done hockey, PA, I've done the Milwaukee Admirals, looking for a quick reference, call the Milwaukee Admirals, and next thing you know, the phone rings and, hey, what are you doing that evening? I said, well, I guess I can help you out. So that's how it all started. And I just started, and I was figuring one game, done, a nice experience.
Yep.
And then Jeff Sauer called me into his office, the coach of the Badger hockey. You're my guy. No, tonight that was it. That's all. I'm only here. You got a guy hired. No, you're my guy. I can't do this. What do you mean you can't do this? Well, I don't live here in Madison. I live up in the Wausau area. It's 150 miles away. I don't care. We'll figure it out.
And 27 years later.
And here I am. Still doing it. I love it, though. I'm not complaining, but yeah, they want me around. So, okay.
That's amazing. And
it's so cool, when you develop the relationships with the players and the young men who become part of the program. Well, it was really cool when Cole Caulfield and Brock Caulfield were playing for the Badgers, and we're down in the lower level of the Kohl Center. It says, Caulfield's got something to say. And he says, hey, what do you want, Bob? I says, you want to know that you're not the only family members that I've done PA announcing with you. Oh, our dad, no, your grandfather, Wayne Caulfield, his last year with the Milwaukee Admirals, 1976, when I was 21 years old. I was covering a Admirals hockey game.
Yep.
And suddenly the GM, because does anyone want to do the PA announcing tonight? Raised my hand and did it. And then I started doing it on a regular basis with the Milwaukee Admirals.
Where were they playing at that time?
At the arena, same place where.
So they still play, because I went to a game
Yeah.
over Christmas. So they've played there since.
Yeah. Yeah, back in 76, they were in the arena, and they were a U.S. Hockey League team, which was like it was a low-leveled professional team. Where today now it's kind of a juniors program,
Yep.
as the USHL. But yeah, Wayne Caulfield, and so when Brock and Cole were, oh, you got to see Gramps play? Yeah, it was his last year, and he's a good guy, and then he ended up coaching in Milwaukee area for junior hockey. And I got to know him that way too, because I did that for the Milwaukee Winter Club.
How long were you with the Admirals?
Off and on, all the way until we got a radio contract for the 85-86 season. I ended up being their play-by-play guy for the first year of full-time coverage of their games.
Wow.
And that started the ball rolling.
Yeah. So hockey is your you have to say is your favorite then.
Well,
right?
It's my favorite, but I never played it when I was growing up. I didn't get into it until like post high school or top of high school as a senior. Me and a bunch of friends didn't know what to do on a Saturday night on the south side of Milwaukee. My band wasn't playing anywhere, so I had a free night. So we were trying to figure out what some high school guy's going to do. And I just went, well, I've heard about this Milwaukee Admirals hockey at the Wilson Park Arena. This is early 70s, 71, 72. Oh, why don't we go there, see a hockey game? I've never saw a hockey game. So with me and my two buddies were sitting there in the stand. We have no idea what to watch. And they get the teams all lined up ready to play. Drop the puck. Everyone's got threw their gloves off, and it's a brawl. Just a total brawl on the ice. And I'm watching this. I'm going, I found the sport for me. And that's how it all started.
And think about that. It's 55 years ago.
Yeah.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Hey, we'll come back and we'll talk. We're
going to talk about
yes, but I like it. This is good stories. These are good things.
More coming up here on the Chad Holmes Show on WXCO 98.9 FM.
The whole world's coming together now. Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Can you feel it? Feel it in the air. The wind is taking it everywhere. Yeah. Can you feel it? Mama, don't you wait for the call. Just gonna get used to it. We all get it in the end.
The Chad Holmes Show continues here on WXCO 98.9 FM here. 715-382-9297. Our guest this morning, Paul Mickley, who is a good friend of ours. We were just talking about that a little while ago, how long it's been since we've kind of even seen each other, because I went off in a different direction for a while to Wisconsin Rapids and working out of there and stuff. So I didn't really have that tie to the local high school sports like I used to do. But that was always fun. But we got a lot of sports things to talk about other than football, because Super Bowl's got next week Sunday.
Yeah, that's next
so
Sunday.
let them worry about it. Let's talk about some of the things happening right now, especially with the Milwaukee Bucks in particular. The other night I watched part of the game against the Trailblazers. Bucks are a funny team to watch sometimes. They'll come out of the chutes and just look like they're world beaters. And then you go away from the game for a while and you come back in the fourth quarter and you find out they're trailing by 8. How does that happen?
It's funny you say that, because I turned it on and they're up 10. It was in the first half.
Yes.
And it was like,
Same
all right, so we're playing pretty good. And then the next thing you know, we end up losing by 15 or whatever it was, 10 to 15. And it's the NBA is like that anyways. But this trip, I think, has shown that Bobby Portis and AJ Green are a big part of their team. This is a trip that I think they should have gone 3-1. You're hoping that the Clipper one, that was going to be a tough one, but you need to get that Portland one, and they didn't get it. And now you got San Antonio tonight, which is not going to be easy. And so they looked a little, they missed those pieces. So with the trade deadline coming up, what are they going to do? Are they going to, because they were talk that Portis is going to have to be part of it with Middleton and Connaughton, all three of those guys, to make these trades work, that these guys are all going to be gone. And, what are they going to get? What do they think they can get? They're not getting any younger. And people are talking about some other guys that they might be bringing in for, you're going to trade an old guy for an old guy. Are they going to be, what's going to be? I do think defensively, they're not very good at this time. And AJ Green, I think, he's a sharpshooter, obviously, but I also think that he plays pretty good defense for him. When he's not there, they're not.
He hustles.
Yep.
He works hard, but he also has some limitations as far as his quickness and also height.
Yep.
But in one thing I always keep pointing out about the Milwaukee Bucks is that the year when they won the championship, they had that one forward who would throw around his weight. Tucker. Yeah.
Right. Yep.
PJ Tucker.
Yep.
Is that his name?
Yep.
Yeah.
PJ Tucker.
Because I was trying to remember it in my memory bank in my brain, which sometimes doesn't work all the time. But PJ Tucker, right? He was the guy who got the dirty points, the tough points, and would be the guy that, stick his chest out there and say, you ain't going to toy with us. Well, then after that championship, team thought, well, we don't really need that. Well, suddenly that enforcer mentality was gone.
Yep.
And the Bucks were basically laid bare that they didn't have that in their system.
There is nobody there right now.
Yeah.
To put that on there, that you can say, hey, he would play, because of his height and size and everything, he would play a big guy if he had to, or he would play a guard if he had to. Because he had that athleticism. He was a tweener, and it was a perfect, so he could do anything, and he set the tone defensively, and they don't have that right now. They have nobody that can set the tone, and that's an issue. Damian Lillard, as great as he is offensively, and right now he's probably 75-80% of what he was offensively. It's not like he's taking over games like he should, or can, or did, but he can't do it defensively. These guys are just going by him.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how they're going to get better defensively unless they make a trade or they make it. And the thing is, that's not guaranteed either. Because when we picked up PJ Tucker, did anybody? I know I didn't think like he was going to make a difference.
Yeah.
I was like,
who is this guy? Oh, he's just another guy type of it. But then as you watched him play, he magnified what he's good at doing.
Yep.
And he was the perfect fit at that time.
Yep. All he could do offensively was shoot that corner three and make a layup. But you know what? They didn't need anything else. He was doing it defensively, rebounding, doing those little things.
Yeah, it's kind of like hockey. You know, it's not like what you do always. It's what you leave out there. When you've got opposition on their butts because he's making room, that does. It's part of the game.
Part of the game, and I thought, especially in that second half of that game that we were talking about against Portland, Giannis, when they weren't moving the ball, I didn't think that the ball movement was very good, and it started to get stuck in his hand way too much. And if he's not finishing, it can look ugly pretty quick. And they weren't shooting the threes either. They weren't hitting the threes. I think Portland had more threes than they do, and that's not a good thing, to say the least.
What do you think about the 3-point basket, which is something that that I have been not a fan of? It is something that has developed, but it's one of these things that you just, as far as I'm concerned, it has changed the game to the point where it's almost one of two things. Someone going in for a slam dunk or throwing 3-pointers up. There's no mid-range game anymore.
Nope. Middleton was probably the only guy that on the Bucks, for example, that has that.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at it, it doesn't matter if it's college. The Badgers are better this year because they're hitting the threes.
Yeah.
So you live and die. If you can stop the three and hit the three, you're going to be the man. If you can't do those two, you're in trouble. And that's pretty much, it's either going to be a layup going to the hole, the athleticism, those players are going to win, or it's going to be the guys that are going to be shooting. The mid range, gone.
Yeah.
It doesn't, and I think that's kind of what, Chris is getting older, but if he's not hitting those he went to, I think he had 0 against the Clippers.
Yeah.
Then he had 22 against Utah, and then he had 0 against Portland.
Basically, the game after a game, game the next night after a game, he seems to have a hard time.
Yep,
getting back into the swing, and then when you get a certain age, and he's had those kind of injuries where there's some soreness there that isn't going to go away. No,
you're talking about he had ankle surgery.
Yep.
You're talking about all the joints there, and if they can get something for him, I think the only thing is I think that Giannis and they have a good team chemistry, and you don't know what's going to happen if you get rid of some of those guys with the chemistry. And so are they better off just going with what they have and seeing what they can do when they have Portis and Green back in the rotation and seeing if they can make a run? And that's the best thing. That's going to be the interesting thing, I think, the next couple of weeks is to see what the Bucks do and if they do anything at all going forward. And but we have, I think, tomorrow for Wisconsin basketball, and which is County Marquette. Mm-hmm. I think it's a critical day for both. I think these are must games. Not trying to change the subject on this, but no. I'm excited about the Wisconsin needs to win at Northwestern, and Marquette on Marquette Day needs to beat Connecticut.
And that playing at Northwestern has always been a bugaboo for the Badger basketball team. When Northwestern was, the lowest of lows, they go in there thinking this is going to be a walk in the park, and they come out of there with a short end of the stick. And I'm always leery about going down there.
Yep. And you look at this 5-game stretch, which Northwestern will be the last one. And you're like, okay, 4 of the games are on the road. If you can go on the West Coast, get 1-1, win it against Nebraska, which they did. So they've done those 2 things. And then you had Maryland, which is hot right now, and Northwestern. You need to get one of those 2. Well, you lost to Maryland. If they want to get a good seed, and when I say good seed, I'm talking about a 5 or a 6 seed, so that you feel comfortable in that first round game in the NCAA tournament, they're probably going to have to go 13-7. And to get to 13-7, you gotta win this game. You got to win this game to get to 13-7 if they want a chance.
Yeah, you're talking about the Badger basketball, and again, let me just point out that opinions being made here are those of the speaker, not of management here. But I understand. Stephen Kroll is going to work for NASA when he gets out of college.
Really?
Because he's taking up space on the basketball floor. All right. All you Badger fans, I know you now hate me greatly, but this is my opinion. The guy has a lot of talent. He just doesn't have the confidence to use it.
I don't think he scored against Nebraska.
And it's
And then how can you not score against?
He's nice guy.
Yep.
Yeah, but it's like there are times where if I watch the first like 5 to 8 minutes of a Badger basketball game, pretty much will tell me whether Stephen Crowell is going to be playing at the end of the game.
Yep. Yeah, it's funny you say. You're right. If he can get off and get a couple buckets,
feel comfortable.
Then you feel comfortable. Then you know that. But if he doesn't,
but if he's out with 2 points scored in the first 12 minutes and 3 fouls, adios. And they're lucky that they have more depth than I thought they were going to. With I think Gilmore's played better than he did last year. You got the other big, the sophomore Winter, that he can be hot, and then he can go non-existent too. Sometimes, but he can shoot the three. I think a little better than Crowell can. But you're right about Crowell. He is a difference maker. If you can he should be able to get 10 to 12 points and 10 rebounds every time without even trying. Much. I mean, you're right. I would think when you're he's got talent. He does have the talent, but again, it's like anything. It's you can have the talent, but you had to have that in between your ears, the confidence to do what you can do.
Yep.
Sometimes the worst thing that happens to Crowell in a game is if he gets one of his shots blocked. Because once that happens, forget it. He's not going to the paint. He's not going to the rim hard.
Yep.
And it's like, it seems like basketball players, it's like a mortal wound when they have one of their shots blocked. To me, I just go, well, put it up there again, see what happens.
And those are the players you want to keep on attacking and keep on having that chance. I think Blackwell is one of those guys that I don't think he wants that ball all the time. He wants to keep on attacking. It's going to be interesting to see how he ends up this season, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, but that is he the guy that's going to leave to a bigger situation, which if he looks at some of these guys, it's all about money, because Storer at Kansas is not, producing for what he's getting paid.
Yeah.
Chucky's doing a good job at Louisville. And then Connor is doing okay at Nebraska. But, all these, when you saw all three of these guys leave, you're like getting worried that like what's going on. But that is the nature of the beast that we live in. So is every year, like, because you would think at Blackwell, like, hey, he's got 2 more years. This kid's this fabulous, but is he going to be gone?
Okay, the date is January 31st, 2025. I'm going to say this public radio right now. The Badger basketball team will be in the Elite Eight
this year.
I'm saying that not just to be. They have the potential.
Yes, they do.
They've got enough offense, enough defense, enough depth to go deep.
Yep.
Not win the thing, but get into the Elite Eight. That's just my feeling on this particular day.
What do you, quickly before we leave, what do you think Marquette? Because Chad, I guarantee you, is thinking to himself, Marquette is going to be an Elite Eight. Wisconsin's not. I'm in agreement with you. I think Wisconsin is. I think they're better than Marquette. That's just my personal feeling.
It could be Marquette and Wisconsin squaring off in an Elite Eight matchup.
How sweet would that be?
That would be an attention grabber, huh?
That would be, that'd be a ratings, at least for the state of Wisconsin.
That's true. Paul, pleasure chatting with you.
Bob, it's always great seeing you, and make sure you keep enjoying that hockey season.
That we'll do that. By the way, Ian has the pressure of the number for the day quiz coming up after these messages.
That's right.
On the Chad Holmes Show here on WXCO 98.9 FM. Chad Holmes Show here on WXCO 98.9 FM. Glad to have you tuned in here. Sitting in for Chad, my name is Bob Look, and I want to thank Chad for letting me play a little radio for you today. But right now is probably the most important thing I'm going to do this morning on the Chad Holmes Show for this Friday. This is what you've been waiting for, everybody, and I know that there was some doubt that with Chad being on the shelf with the bad throat and that, we may not get to do this, but we are here to bring to you the ever popular number for the day quiz.
Yes. This is a big one, too.
I almost gave you the whole Coal Center deal there. Ian Welsh.
Yes. Oh. Boy.
So far this week, ladies and gentlemen, and I know this is pretty exciting, and it's hard to contain yourselves, but he's 4 for 4. That's a perfect record for the week. And here I got those whack jobs calling me because they want to try to sell me insurance. Should have turned off my phone, damn it. All right. Anyway, number of the day quiz. He's been 4 out of 4. His best week ever was 4 out of 5. He has a chance to do a perfect week.
Yes.
Ian Welsh, our in-studio producer.
Oh, I'm so nervous.
The pressure is mounting. Here is the number for the day.
Okay.
What percentage of Americans in a recent survey believe that God plays a role in who wins the Super Bowl? Is it A, 26%, B, 31%, or C, 36%?
Okay, so
again, I'm going to repeat the question for the folks listening.
Okay.
What's the percentage? The percentage of Americans in a recent survey believe that the Almighty God, spelled with a capital G, plays a role in who wins the Super Bowl? Is it A, 26%, B, 31%, or C, 36%? I will now, because of, copyright infringement, I will sing by myself the music for you to ponder and answer.
Okay. What percentage of Americans in a recent survey believe that God has a role in who wins the Super Bowl? 26, 31, or 36? Okay. I think I have my final decision.
Ian Welsh, here it is again. Like before, when you've done this, and I was like, you could call me as a help on it. I can't do this because I know the answer, so I'm not gonna push you any other way. So
I want to do this on my own. Yeah.
Ian Welsh, what is your answer?
Okay. I've been going with my gut here for the whole week, and it's already paid off. So I'm sticking with it today. A final answer. I'm going to say the percentage of Americans who believe that God has a role who wins the Super Bowl is okay. I'm going to say 31%. I'm going with the B as a final answer. I'm locking it in. That is my guess for the final number of the day this week. I'm going with 31%.
That was B. That was that one.
Yes.
All right.
Not changing it. I'm keeping it like that.
Okay. That is your final answer, right?
Yes.
Okay. The correct answer is A, 26%.
Oh. Man, I was close. But I did get to match my record of 4 out of 5. So honestly, I'm happy.
Well, you're playing with house money there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There's no pressure on you to, it's like And then what, then if you do get a full week of correct answers, then the pressure's immeasurable every week. You have it.
Absolutely.
So maybe sometimes, Ian, it's kind of smart not to show them all the perfection, good enough,
No, honestly, I'm very proud of myself this week.
That's a tough question. Well, first of all, if you're doing a recent survey or just a survey period, you're at the mercy of the people you're asking the question to.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
That's right.
A survey it's only a sampling of a few people.
Yep.
But
a small study.
Don't let it get you down.
No, absolutely not.
I won't allow that. Anyone sits there, says something to Ian, just give me a call. I'll be right there and I'll punch their lights out. Okay.
No, absolutely not. No, I am proud of myself.
Okay.
I think it's a very good week that I was able to get a 4 out of 5.
And nice try.
It's been a while since I've done that. Honestly.
Yeah. Hey, I got to do one thing before I finish up the show here. Okay.
Go ahead.
Coming up Sunday is Groundhog's Day. That's what people think February 2nd is. Well, February 2nd was the birth date of my wife, Diane.
Oh.
She would have been 75 years old this Sunday. And I miss her as much now as I ever will. So that'll be what'll be on my mind. And if you folks out there knew her and know of her, have a great thought about her because she was the most important thing in my life.
Absolutely.
Thanks to Chad Holmes for letting me play radio for a day. Have yourself a great, great weekend, and we'll talk to you again down the road. Okay, my friends? Ian, thanks again for your help.
You too, Bob. Happy Friday, everybody. Have a great weekend.